I've always said on this channel that MAGA commentators are cultists. They are cultists. They don't have a mind of their own. They don't think for themselves. Whatever old great Donald Trump says, they are going to oblige and do. In this clip, we're going to see a very heated exchange between a UK journalist and a MAGA conservative commentator. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. If you like the clip, hype it up, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, my commentary, and my perspective towards the end. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it.
Steve Gill, conservative commentator, radio host based in Nashville, Tennessee. Steve, good to have you on the programme tonight. Would you share my assessment that your president's becoming increasingly unstable?
Not in the slightest. I think he's been remarkably consistent and has been rightfully critical of NATO for a long time. First of all, NATO was not paying a fair share of the cost of defense, and they only at his insistence have increased the amount of their own contributions from about 2.5% to 5%, with most still not meeting the 2.5% previously or the 5% now. Portugal, Spain, and others. Is it really an alliance if half is not paying their fair share for the alliance and then want U.S. taxpayers, U.S. military to intervene in Ukraine, but aren't willing to stop the development of nuclear weapons, ballistic weapons, and the funding of terrorism by Iran? It's not an alliance if it's a one-sided deal. And I think President Trump has had a problem with NATO for a long time before this last couple of weeks.
What about the alliance he seems to be striking with Vladimir Putin, easing sanctions on Russian oil just as the war in Ukraine reaches a pivotal moment, Steve?
Well, I think the war in Ukraine has been lost for a long time. It's just that Zelensky and Ukraine have failed to realize that. They've not made any progress in taking back the so-called territory that they claim was wrongfully taken from them after
but that's
12
partly,
to 14 years of
that's
shelling
partly
people.
because Donald Trump is diverting US focus and resources away from the vital war in Ukraine in order to start another war in the Middle East.
Vital to who? I mean, again, as the French and Brits are saying, the war in the Middle East is not their war. It's not close to them. Trump has said, well, what's the interest of Ukraine to us? You're more at threat in the UK and France and Germany than we are. If you want to play there, but you don't want to play in a more dangerous region of the world where nuclear weapons in the hands of madmen would threaten all of us a lot worse than Russia threatens Ukraine. I don't think that's fair.
You don't think Russian nuclear weapons in the hands of Vladimir Putin meet the description that you've just made?
Well, I don't think Vladimir Putin threatens every week to use them the way that we see not only the Iranian regime, which I think you're wrong when you point out that in the last 17 days, the regime has not been toppled. The regime is dead, as is their entire Navy, as is their Air Force. So the regime is not toppled, but it is on the verge. And you can't judge this thing 2 weeks in.
I've got to come in there. There's reports in the US media today that the official assessment of the US intelligence agencies is that the chances of the Iranian regime being toppled by Donald Trump's war is vanishingly slim. That's not my assessment. That is the view, apparently, of the CIA and other US intelligence agencies. So what's it all been for, this war?
Again, it depends on who's doing that reporting and how they're putting their thumb on the scales of truth. The bottom line is we're 17 days in. Every top member of the regime, their second, third tier have been obliterated and killed. Their ability to continue to develop nuclear weapons has been degraded almost entirely. Their ability to launch strikes, they may have plenty more missiles, but if you don't have launchers, you can't continue to reach out. They were firing 300 missiles a day early on. Now it's about 4 or 5. They have no Navy. It is far ahead of the progress, and it's going to take a while for the regime to be replaced.
If they have no Navy, then why was Donald Trump only yesterday pleading for NATO's support and the support of other countries like ours to assist the US in reopening the Strait of Hormuz? If they're as devastated and decimated as you're making out, Steve, they wouldn't be holding the world to ransom over our oil supply, would they?
Well, you don't have a Navy from Iran, but you still have forces on the coast that can still strike ships that are going through. And if you hit an oil tanker and it spews oil throughout the area. By the way, I think it is absolutely hilarious that Macron and France are saying, yeah, we'll come in after everything's settled.
No,
Boy,
but let's
with friends like that, who needs enemies?
If we could, let's just stick with this for a moment. You're saying that the Iranian regime has been completely decimated, but you're also
their leadership has.
But hold on, but you're also accepting that they still are absolutely capable of restricting the global oil supply in the way that they are currently doing. It can't be both things.
Well, first of all, you have the Strait of Hormuz, which is a close territory where there are firing missiles from the coast of Iran. It is a huge country, and you haven't eradicated every ability of them to have individuals and individual segments firing missiles and rockets, not only into the Strait of Hormuz, but also into the airport in Dubai. So just because you've eradicated their top leadership and increasingly are eradicating the thugs and others that are continuing to create problems, when the oil flow stops and their revenue declines, they won't be able to pay soldiers and cops and thugs on the street. That gives the people of Iran, I think, an opportunity to take their country back.
What would you say to the millions of Americans who put their faith in Donald Trump and voted for him, partly because he'd promised, as he put it, an end to foreign wars?
Well, I think he was promising an end to the endless wars that we saw in Afghanistan, we've seen in Iraq. It's interesting, we had just a few weeks ago the protesters in our streets and some around the world holding up signs saying, "Stop the war in Venezuela, get our troops home." The war lasted 2 hours. So if you're stopping wars but preventing worse conflicts by degrading the nuclear capacity of Iran, by removing a thug like Maduro, again, a 2-hour war is something I think the American people support. And when you look at the poll numbers so far, we're supporting it.
This isn't a 2-hour war.
It's been a 2-week war.
Yeah,
it's been a 2-week war.
And it's still ongoing from a president who said no more foreign wars.
Well, he was saying no more endless wars.
No, he wasn't. He said no more foreign wars. He didn't say no more endless wars. He said no more foreign wars, and he got into office.
Put it in context of what he was talking about. He's been opposed to the endless wars in Afghanistan and Iraq for a long time. When you have nuclear thugs like those in power in Iran, you can either wait till they blow up something or act before they do.
They don't currently have nuclear weapons. Vladimir Putin does. I mean, I bet you once more, Steve, when it comes to nuclear-armed thugs, the one in the Kremlin, Donald Trump seems to have a soft spot for.
Well, if Putin wanted to use nuclear weapons, he would use tactical nukes in in Ukraine already. Iran has threatened to use them. They have the capacity with the uranium. Well, the uranium they have developed allows them to both use dirty bombs, and they are on the precipice of doing more. And frankly, let's be honest, Ben, if you're actually just trying to develop nuclear power, you don't bury your power development 300 meters under the ground. They're clearly working to develop nuclear weapons. Everybody in the region understands that, except for Keir Starmer.
No,
I'm gonna leave it there. There's only about 10 more seconds to go for the rest of it. I'll leave the link in the description so you guys can check it out. Honestly, it's just another example of MAGA cultism, cultists on full show. It's honestly just an example of it. Honestly, the whole point, I can't understand why MAGA keep using this point about NATO. I don't get it, and I don't understand. It makes no sense. Trump started the war with Russia, with Iran. Russia started the war with Ukraine. This whole spiel about NATO, this, NATO, that. The point is this. An attack on one is an attack on all. Okay? All the rest of the NATO members come into America's defense. Well, it's not a defense because America went on the offense. Not only did they go on the offense, they also didn't let anybody in NATO know that they were going to do this. They also didn't let Congress know. This was a spur of the moment thing, and due to reporting that's coming out, the only reason as to why they didn't let people know is because Bibi Netanyahu managed to convince Donald Trump. He managed to convince Donald Trump to do it after spending nearly 40 years trying to get multiple presidents to come and help them start a war with Iran. But they managed to find the dumb one, Donald Trump. Honestly, when I see these conservative commentators saying and doing all of this, all I simply say is this. Donald Trump is destroying the United States' reputation and its friendships all around the world. But that's consistent with Donald Trump. Look at his personal relationships. Take a look at the things that this guy is now saying about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Look at the things he's saying now about Tucker Carlson. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm sad about it. I don't give a damn. I love seeing the infighting on the right. But he's going to destroy these relationships. And Donald Trump, long after he's gone, the people that are sitting there and defending him right now, Republicans, MAGA, they will be the ones that will be held accountable. because there's going to be a price that is going to be paid. Do you guys really think if Donald Trump wasn't as bad and wasn't as negative as he was towards NATO and towards the UK, do you not think people would have come to his aid? I believe they would have. I definitely do. I do, but because of the negativity and his approach talking about annexing a NATO ally, the negative comments about NATO soldiers, all of these things play a part. And America's reputation around the world is falling apart because of an individual who is so unhinged. It's actually embarrassing. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this commentary and this clip down in the comment section below. Hype the video up, give the video a thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button as well if you want to see more clips from myself. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.